Hello, 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 LifeVest Insiders. Orly here, founder of LifeVest Inside, and I have a very, very special treat for you. So guys, we all have it, that voice that tells us that we aren't smart enough, beautiful enough, successful enough, whatever enough. And sometimes we compare ourselves to other people on social media, our friends, or even complete strangers. And we all do this, okay? Even the people that you think don't do this, they do it. And it's the voice inside of our head that tells us that we shouldn't even try. Why even bother? Because we might fail, we might look stupid. What will people think of us? But there's nothing wrong with you for having this feeling. It's just a fear. And sometimes the fact that we feel ashamed that we have this fear is actually even worse. So the question is, so what can we do? How can we get rid of this? And, how do we actually learn how to manage this? Well, today I'm very, very excited because joining me is an expert in this field, Andrea Owen of Your Kick-Ass Life Coaching. She's going to be talking about this topic, and she's going to break down for us 3 steps that you can implement today, give you actual tools that you can implement today to learn how to manage your own inner critic. I know that this is something, sometimes self-bashing is something we do very often. I definitely know that I'm going to be able to learn a lot about this stuff from Andrea. And I'm really excited to welcome to the stage, Andrea Owen. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. I didn't know if I was live or not.
We are live. I'm so super excited that you're here. Actually, we did a Facebook Live. I think was it a year ago?
It was almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago. It was when your book just came out.
When this had just come out, yes.
Yes, exactly. That was really spectacular. So, Andrea, first of all, thank you so much for joining. Tell the fans that are joining us just a little bit more about yourself, just a bit about your background.
Any chance to spend time with you, of course, I am jumping at it. So thank you for having me first and foremost. And thank you for the people who are here live or watching the replay. I know how valuable your time is, and I'm so grateful that you have chosen to spend it with us. I am a life coach. I primarily help women, but men out there, don't jump off, because this talk is going to be for everyone, because everyone has that negative self-talk. And I'm going to give you some tools about it. But I help mostly women who really struggle in the areas of negative self-talk, perfectionism, some people-pleasing, numbing out, behaviors like that. And I help them get to the bottom of it and choose behaviors that are more in alignment with confidence and courage instead.
Awesome. I just want you to share, because I know some people that are going to be joining us didn't necessarily see our Facebook Live, from last year, but how did you really get into this? Why did you choose this specific field? Why do you think it's really important? Could you share a little bit about your own backstory there?
Yeah, well, I did not come out of the womb evolved and, ahead in my personal development game. I found out about life coaching. I have a fitness background, and found out about life coaching in the early 2000s, and actually said out loud to my then husband, I said, I think that this would be a great profession, and I think I would be good at it, but I think that you would also need a lot of life experience to be able to be a great life coach, and I don't really have that. And so lo and behold, the universe was listening. And 2 years later, my husband had an affair with our neighbor and got her pregnant. So it was not our destiny to be together forever. And it was my destiny to have this tremendous amount of heartbreak and really just fall on my face. And it was then where I took radical responsibility for my life. And I say that because I had been in a place where I blamed everyone for my unhappiness, and I also looked to them for my happiness. And that wasn't working out very well. And so it was a lot of work on my end to realize, what are my personal values, what makes me happy, what is happiness, and just personal development in general. And I think that in order for our lives to have a sense of meaning, many of us really crave that and are hungry for that. And I know I was as well. And now I'm lucky enough to be able to help people get to that place themselves.
I love that. I love how you said that radical, radical responsibility. You're taking actual action to change your life. And I think that all of us go through our own experiences, and generally the experiences and the hardships that we face really, in a sense, push us to the limits to tap into something within ourselves that we may not have been able to tap into had we not gone through those experiences.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily be here right now where you are had you not gone through those experiences, but it's the choices that we take based on the things that happen to us. It doesn't have to be what's happening to us. It's how we're actually going to approach it. Maybe you could share also, before we get into the topic, and I know a lot of people are excited to talk about this topic, can you share also just the books that you have? Because I know, as a reader myself, having had the opportunity to read your books, I think it's absolutely spectacular. Guys, you'll be able to learn so much more about Andrea's background, how she really got to this, and just the power and the strength that a person can come to and have based on whatever hardships that they're going through. So just share me, a couple of the titles of your book and how they can find out more about you and the book.
No, thank you. No, the first one was, I don't have it near me, 52 Ways to Live a Kick-Ass Life. It's a bright pink book if you've seen it at Barnes & Noble, and there's a picture of me on the front of it. That one is like really short chapters, all kinds of different personal development topics, so that you can just take a little nugget away from it and do something. They're practical tools that you can go out and practice in your life. And then this one that is near me is How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. It's 14 behaviors that, there's specific behaviors, some of that I just mentioned: perfectionism, negative self-talk, numbing out, isolating and hiding out. These types of things that we all do because it's what we're used to. And because for a lot of us, they work for a certain amount of time until they don't. And I'm teaching people to just recognize them quickly and do behaviors that are more in an alignment with your values. So those are the two books that I have at bookstores, Amazon, wherever books are sold.
Awesome. And we just had a comment that just came up from Jason Hattrick, who wrote, "Your books are wonderful. Still remember not being able to
remember Jason.
Jason's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. So, it's absolutely wonderful. What I love about the book is something that you really can connect with even friends about. I've had conversations with people as we are reading different sections and different chapters. And it's something that you don't just read through. It's something that you continuously come back to. And it's sort of your own, it's definitely personal development, and you have to be honest with yourself about who you truly are. So I absolutely love that. And I recommend it highly for all you guys out there that are watching. If you haven't checked out Andrea's books, get out there, go onto Amazon and get your copy right away, because it's really spectacular. So I want to jump right into this topic here. This idea of, how do we manage our own inner critic?
Yeah.
And I know, like I said, personally, I find myself doing this. I know that a lot of our viewers, a lot of our group leaders have shared the fact that they do this as well. We want to be able to, we're so much of a perfectionist. We want to be able to bring good into the world. We want to be able to do good. But sometimes this negative self-talk actually prevents us from getting to where we need to get to. So how do people go about, what are some skills and tools that, people can actually use? Why does this happen? Why do people do this?
Well, I mean, we can start there for sure. And I want to preface it by saying that, you mentioned perfectionism. Yeah, a lot of us do struggle with perfectionism. I also see perfectionism in personal development. So what that means is people come to me and they're like, I have this negative self-talk and I feel like it's holding me back from, being this kind of person that I want. I want to be able to completely walk away from it. I want to eradicate this from my life and just, good vibes only. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment. And I also think that it's just not possible. And I don't mean to be like, wah, wah, but I see perfectionism in personal development. People want to check off all the boxes. They want to only have positive thoughts. They think that if their life doesn't look like an Instagram feed of positive memes and beautiful vacation pictures, then they're doing something wrong. And that's not the case. Sometimes life is really freaking difficult. Sometimes we're up against obstacles. We have trauma in our life that manifests in our personal relationships and in our friendships and at work. It just is life, and we're all humans doing the best that we can. That being said, I do think that there are ways where we can be more resilient to our negative self-talk. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I just want to say, it's not about eradicating it. It's learning to manage it. And that's why I use that word. To answer your question, Orly, where does it come from? It can come from a couple of different places. It can come from, first and foremost, your family of origin. If you had any kind of verbal or emotional abuse, it could have come from that. It sometimes even comes from very well-meaning parents and caregivers, because we're all raised by humans who are not perfect. Even if they praised you a lot, for instance, about your good grades, maybe you grew up thinking, okay, this is what I have to do in order to be loved, in order to feel safe in my family. Therefore, when you do not really well, if you fail, then you are extremely hard on yourself. It can also come from our culture. As women, we are not necessarily, how should I say this? We are brought up to be fundamentally insecure. There are a lot of companies that make a lot of money off of us not feeling great about ourselves. The same is true for men, but it looks a little bit different. I don't mean to gender stereotype, but it looks a little bit different for everyone. And those are the two main places that it comes from. It also can come from past relationships that we've had that have not worked out for whatever reason. We carry these things with us as we go along in life. So all that to say, you're all normal. Every single one of you watching this, you too, Orly, we all have it. So start there.
I think that's the key, is that most people think, and like you said, people look at these Instagram feeds where everything looks beautiful and perfect, and wow, this person's life looks like it's absolutely spectacular. But we don't see what happens in the moments between the pictures, because everyone has hardships. Everybody has insecurities. Everyone has insecurity. I don't care who they are. Mm-hmm. And everyone doubts themselves at times and questions themselves. And it's coming to realize that we all have that in common.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the picture perfect. There's a facade on social media that ends up making us feel that sense of lack.
Right. That compare and despair. Well, and what I want to make really clear is where I want the win to be is that the gap between, where you have this negative self-talk and where you bounce back from it, that gets shorter and shorter. So for instance, I still have negative self-talk. I still fall into that compare and despair place, but I recognize it very quickly when it's happening. And I have tools to work on it, which I'll talk to you about. And then I can be resilient much faster. So to be honest with you, most of the time, that's a matter of minutes. Whereas before, that was days or weeks or months where I would just sit in that discomfort of I'm not good enough, just generally speaking.
You end up self-sabotaging.
Yes. And then it bleeds out into other parts of your life.
100%. So what do people do? People that are on here that are having the same exact issue. Again, like you said, it's not about eradicating it. It's about learning how to manage it. So okay. What are some practical things that someone can do?
Yeah. So get out your pen and paper or your, iPad or whatever. I prefer pen and paper for this. I think that it just is better. And I know that there's been studies that have shown that it's actually better in terms of studying to do this. But the first thing, and sometimes this can be the most painful part, is to get out what exactly your negative self-talk sounds like or feels like, because not everyone hears kind of an inner monologue. Some people, it's just a feeling. This might be a little bit easier if you break down the areas of your life. So you might have career and your family, your friendships, your intimate relationship, your body and appearance, which that one can be tough, right? And maybe it's your past and then also your future goals. So does your inner critic have something to say about those different areas? And if so, what does it say? You might have your career on lockdown. You might be kicking ass at work and things are going great. This is not an invitation for you to make up stuff of where you're falling short. So if an area in your life is not, you don't have much of negative self-talk there, just skip it. And there might be one or two areas that are really cranky, as I like to say, and just get that out all on paper. And the reason I say that can be painful for people, because I don't take that exercise lightly. I don't expect that to be just a couple of minutes and you knock it out. That can be emotional. That can bring up stuff for you. So give yourself some time and space and love and compassion, hopefully, when you do this first step.
That's great. That's great. And guys, I want to encourage you that if you have any questions as Andrea is speaking, or you want to share a comment, please feel free to post it over here and I'll be sure to mention it out loud. But definitely get that pen and paper out. I totally agree with you. It's when you go into that space, it takes a lot of time actually. You have to be able to allow yourself to be in that space, and it does bring up a lot of emotions from the past. And you don't necessarily know that it was going to bring up those emotions, but it's going through a very, very sensitive.
It can be tender. Yeah. And I invite people, if anyone's feeling brave and vulnerable enough, to type in the comments, what yours are. Maybe here's what I hear commonly from my clients. So, as I said, I work primarily with women, and in relationships, if they're single, maybe they tell themselves, I'm a terrible picker. I'm bad at relationships. I'm hard to be married to. I am entirely too needy. I have too many issues. So these are the types of things that they tell themselves. If it's with their career, They might say something like, I will never get out of debt. I'll never be able to make enough money to pay off my student loans. I'm bad at handling money. I don't have my master's degree, so I'm never going to get promoted. So these are the types of things that for many of us are subconscious. Like we don't even notice that they're in our minds because they've become so normal. And so to get them out is definitely that first step of knowing how to manage it. So if anybody is feeling brave enough to type in the comments, or maybe you've done this exercise before, either with me or with a therapist or at a workshop or something like that, and let us know how it felt. Or if you're even very averse to doing it, tell us that too.
100%. I think that's a great first step. And I think that everything that you mentioned, the things that a lot of people feel, sometimes we push it away, that we are, and by actually becoming aware that we have this issue, it means that we have now the responsibility to address it. And I know that for a lot of us, sometimes we actually don't want to address it because it's so much harder. So we just close our eyes,
right.
walking, or like, you know what, I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to see you later.
Bye, Orly. Yeah. Well, and for those brave enough to stick around, and if you need to take a break, by all means, take a break. And I'm not saying that to tease people and tell you that you're wrong. If it feels that it's a little bit too emotional for you, walk away from it, but make an effort to come back. The second step is to really, once you have all this out on paper, is to know what your triggers are. Because you can't try to manage something if you don't know, like you need to get out in front of it, is what I like to say. And so maybe your triggers are certain people you follow on Instagram, and you kind of followed them as inspiration. I wrote about this in my book, that I went on this spree where I was following all these fitness people, and I thought it was going to be helpful for me because I went through this period where I wasn't working out, and I'm like, I'm going to follow all these fitness people and be really inspired. And then I realized I'm feeling like crap about myself, and they're not actually inspiring me. They're inspiring me to feel badly about myself is what they're inspiring me to do. And it doesn't mean those people are bad or wrong. It just means that I was making up a story about myself based on what I was consuming. So that's what I want to know from you. What are your triggers based on what you just wrote? Are your triggers that, the certain person at work that's always bringing, she dresses amazing and she always has Louis Vuitton bags, or it's these people on Instagram, or maybe it's passive aggressive comments that your mother-in-law makes about your parenting. Knowing, and I'm not saying right now, like, go out and be confrontational to those people who are triggering you. Again, we're just in the awareness phase, just so you know what the things are that are triggering. And it's not to blame and shame those people, because they very well might not be doing anything wrong. They might just be living their best life and you're triggered by them. That's okay. It's just awareness at this point, just awareness. What are your triggers? That's
great. That's really, really great.
I'm curious about you, Orly. Like, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have anything that you know is triggering to you?
Things that are triggering to me. Well, the truth is, I don't actually go on. I know this sounds crazy. I mean, it's just terrible as I'm on Facebook Live here, but I don't really, people sometimes tell me, they're like, oh, did you see what I posted on Facebook, or I see what I posted on this or on that? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I really didn't see it, because I go on social media. I am putting out things there for the world through the work of the organization of LifeVestInside, of inspiring content to be able to inspire change and to be able to empower people to recognize their value and that they matter. But in terms of spending time on social media, like flipping through what people are doing, I don't do that at all. So I always tell people, if you want to reach me, it's not that, just send me a pick up the phone call. I'll give you no problem.
Good.
Because I just find that it becomes a little bit of there's great stuff out there, but sometimes it can become very addicting for a lot of people, that you end up losing yourself within it.
Yep.
It's great, because without social media, I wouldn't be here either. Let's be honest. The film wouldn't have gotten to the places that it went to, and I wouldn't be able to reach the amount of people that I've reached. But we have to be able to, I think, have balance within things.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it can make people look at other people succeeding. And again, it has nothing to do with those other people. It has to do with how you take it. And it just makes you feel like, oh, how come I'm not succeeding? How come I can't do it? And sometimes only seeing that and actually not looking at your own successes makes you feel like a failure. And when you feel like a failure, it stops you from being able to want to try even. You just want to give up. You want to hang out and chill in bed and, just not do anything else.
Yeah.
But
well, I love that you know that about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. I don't spend time on there. I like connecting to people face to face or on the phone. That's why people tell me, Orly, what are you putting your phone number out there? But I said, it's fine. You can call me, send me a WhatsApp message. I have no problem. But in terms of triggers, I think, I definitely have, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. I definitely do self-bashing. I do. And I don't do it on purpose. I don't have the time, and I always say this, it's important to take the time to look at your accomplishments because you have to utilize the positive momentum to keep you going forward. I always feel like I'm keep going and keep going and keep going. And sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, but yet I know I'm not sleeping and I'm working around the clock, but I could be getting people pulling at me in 18 different directions, right? And I want to be there for other people. So I want to be there for this person. I want to be there for that person. I want to be there for other person. And what ends up happening is that I end up getting really depleted. I know how to stop and find my safe zone or my alone zone, but I don't do it enough. Okay. And then so I end up allowing myself to be pulled. I don't know if it's to do with people pleasing, because it's not about, I don't know if it's people pleasing as much as maybe it's connected to that. I don't want to let
it might just be that you have just a very ambitious nature, and
I'm extremely ambitious, and I don't want to let people down. I want to be able to that I'm there for people, because I know what it's like to not feel like someone's there for me. So I try to do everything I can to be there for people in the way that I wanted somebody to be there for me. And sometimes that can be, it can be a big burden as well.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between people pleasing, and I know we might have a lot of people pleasers listening and watching. There's a difference between people pleasing and approval seeking. So I meet a lot of women who, especially when they get into their 40s, where they tell me oh, no. I don't say yes when I mean no. If I don't want to do something, I'm going to say no. And they're good at that, but they still are attached to the approval of other people. And they're I would say that all people pleasers are approval seekers, but not all approval seekers are people pleasers. So I don't want to get into that too much. It's in here if people want to read more about that. But what I would say to you, Orly, and anyone who, once you do those first two steps, which they are very much related, it's the awareness of the different areas of your life and what your inner critic says or how you feel. And then also knowing your triggers, if you have any specific triggers that you can identify. And then from there, it's, again, I want to make the unconscious conscious, kind of rip the covers off and see what's going on, so that the next time when you feel like you're not doing enough, as Orly just shared with us, or if you are having those thoughts about what kind of person you are in a relationship, or whatever the negative self-talk is, that you acknowledge it without a charge. So I'm not at all asking you to say, oh, but I am enough. Oh, but I am going to get out of debt. It's not about positive affirmations, which I think that those are great in context to something else. But I have seen over and over again that they're actually not helpful for people who are just really starting this inner critic work. I don't want those thoughts to be positive or negative. I don't want you to bash your inner critic and tell it to piss off or bully it back. It's just neutral acknowledgement. So I tell people to come up with a mantra. What I say to myself is when I distinctly hear it, I say, oh, well, that just happened. And that's it. Do you see how it's not negatively or positively charged? And also, we're busy. We think fast. We do things fast. And it's just acknowledging that it's there and looking it in the eye. Because at the end of the day, y'all, it's just your fear that it's a terrible communicator. It's your fear trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you in your comfort zone, trying to prevent you from failure and criticism and rejection. Don't go after that new business. What happens if it totally fails? What are they going to think? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's just fear as a terrible communicator. It just wants to be heard. So you're just acknowledging it and moving on. And here's what I hear all the time. What if I have to do this more than one time a day? Well, it's you're learning a brand new language. Of course you are. You don't just read a book on how to speak Hebrew and then you're off to the races and you can speak fluent Hebrew, right? Or you need to practice this. You need to go where people are speaking Hebrew and practice all day long. You're rewiring your brain, y'all. This is not just, I'm going to try it for one day. Oh, it doesn't work. Then forget it. come on, you've been speaking to yourself a certain way for decades, more or less. It's going to take a minute for you to, again, be fluent in this new language of closing that gap, of talking trash to yourself and bouncing back quickly so you can move forward and feel better.
I think you're 100% right. We're so used to that instant gratification, right? Click buttons, something happens, but personal development is not about instant gratification. It's about continuously practicing, like you mentioned. And I know, look, I'll share for me, thinking about what you asked about triggers, I think one of my triggers is, it could be my family. I love my family very much. I love them. So family members watching, I love you. And I love you.
Families are complicated. That's what I always say.
I with them because they don't understand the work that I do with LifeVestInside and with the organization. I get really bashed in my family. I mean, they're proud of me. Then when something succeeds, they're but I get so much. I get so much discouragement. I don't think anyone can understand. It's like a lot of discouragement, and it hurts a lot. And I ended up finding, when I would want to share something that was going on, I wouldn't get that positive feedback from them. And it came to the point where I realized, okay, my family is a bit of a trigger for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not going to share. I'm not going to bring up the organization around them. Yeah. Because it ends up making me feel really bad and really, really low when I don't feel like I am receiving support. And I'm just like, oh, why are you doing this? Who do you think? What are you doing? How are you impacting anybody? Like, go get a real job. Like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It hurts, guys. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And I realized that it was a trigger, and I have stopped over the past few months, and it's helped. It's still hard. There's still those days where I get it, but it's definitely helped. It's something I know I have to continuously work on, but I definitely acknowledge that's a trigger for me.
And I just want to add to that, because I'm sure that there are people watching who have some kind of similar situation. You're still allowed to want what you want. Like, you're still allowed to wish that they would be different, that they would congratulate you and throw confetti. And it doesn't negate that. And it just because you're choosing not to share with them because it just is not working. You're setting a boundary is what you're doing. And it doesn't mean that you suddenly no longer wish that they treated that topic differently.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. That's a tough one. And I see that all the time. And that's being, that's being a mature grown-up.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right. What else? What's the next item? I'm really excited to actually write this down after we.
Well, we've gone through the main three. And so they were starting with awareness. So that's, again, breaking down, for those people kind of joining us late, breaking down the different areas of your life and knowing specifically what your sort of inner dialogue is in terms of your inner critic. For some people, again, some people don't hear things like, oh, I'm so old now, like I don't belong in this particular group. Sometimes it's just an overall feeling of not enoughness. And everyone, I think, kind of knows that feeling. And then the second one is knowing what your specific triggers are. So there might be some kind of, external factors that are going on. If it's somebody at work, if it's somebody in your family. I love that you shared that example, Orly. Thank you for doing that you can control. What are the things that you can specifically control, perhaps, to not have that bother you so much? Sometimes you can control them, sometimes you can't. And that's a bigger conversation for another time. And the third one is to, once you get clear on those two, is when it happens again, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it happens again, when you get triggered, when you have that negative self-talk, is that you notice it and that's it. So you're not mad at it. You're not trying to put flowers on it, and make it beautiful and a positive affirmation. It's just neutral. If you want to take it a step further, have a mantra that is just an acknowledgement mantra. I shared with you the one that I use, and well, that's just happened. You can also say something like, well, thanks for sharing. You can also say, I'm choosing not to listen to that today. I'm choosing not to suffer. Whatever neutral mantra you want to have, and then you can just move on from there. Maybe you change your geography. You get up and go for a walk. Maybe you talk to your dog. Maybe you log off of Instagram and go do something else. You are changing what's happening right in that moment So hopefully that inner critic dialogue will stop for the moment. And then if I can add a bonus, rinse and repeat, not just like one time, you're done, congratulations. It's rinse and repeat.
These are amazing, amazing tools that I think each and every person can use. So guys, if you're just joining, you can always watch on the replay. Andrea Owen shares with us how to manage, not to eradicate, but how to manage your inner critic. I like that very, very much. And gives us 3 tools that we can utilize right now in our lives, and exercise that we can do constantly to be able to help us do that. I'm so grateful that you shared all this. How can people learn more about you, how awesome you are, your books? Where can they go? How can they find more resources in order to, work on their own self-improvement journey?
Yeah, you're so sweet. I have obviously the books that we already talked about, and I have more free resources. I have a workshop that's totally free, super easy. Go to yourkickasslife.com/free, where I share different tools than the ones that I shared here. There might be a little bit of overlap because I think there's foundational pieces, but I give even more tools in this free online workshop. And it runs every week. And so you can find it over there, yourkickasslife.com/free. And I think you posted it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that link is up on the screen, so you can definitely check that out. And they can find out more information about you there as well, and as well as books and stuff like
website.
that. So, 100%. So guys, check out yourkickasslife.com/free to get more resources. And this was amazing, Andrea. I myself personally have gained from this. I know that people that are watching, based on the comments here, have also gained from this. Damon Henry says, awesome. I know that I saw your comments before, Damon, as well. And yeah, I'm so super excited. Alicia Stephanie, from one of our group leaders, wrote down, you can change your commenting. Oh, okay. So she's talking to our other group leaders that are on this, that are actually commenting on here as we speak, and are popping up as LifeVestInside. So thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing this. I myself, I'm going to take my notepad. I have it over here.
Do some journaling.
I got so I'll be able to write this down. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. Guys,
You're
make
welcome.
sure you learn more about her, follow her on her social media channels. Check out her
podcast too, 260 episodes or something. You've been a guest.
Oh, yeah. Podcast. We did a podcast there. Really great resources. I really recommend her book. I loved your book so much.
You're so kind. Thank you. And I love you. I love your work and your energy, and the people in your community are just hungry for life. And that says so much, I think, about you as a leader. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we will see you on our next Facebook Live. Take care. And remember to start working on how to manage your inner critic. Bye now.
Bye.